It's 3 o'clock on the 15th of February. You're listening to City News with me, Jamie Dorrington.
And me, Ed Easton.
On the programme today, Ealing Council has announced it will spend £150 million on new temporary accommodation, but some have concerns.
The need is now, it's immediate. There's 389 in bed and breakfast, 169 in commercial hotels. If we do not do something quickly, the bill for commercial hotels alone will be over £5 million.
The redevelopment of an East London market has seen traders' profits cut in half, with many demanding compensation.
Every single pitch, this end and that end, is all in the same boat. Everybody's taking no money.
Some residents have been left feeling unsafe after squatters moved into a local pub.
A lot of people like homeless, they're living here. And even our milk bottle in front door, always stolen, And they climb the fence going to the inside.
And to usher in London Fashion Week, City News brings you the first ever radio catwalk.
This is
City News.
City News has been told that Ealing Council is mismanaging social housing. The local authority is spending £150 million on new temporary accommodation, but critics say it should never have got to this stage. Lily Amory reports on the scheme proposed at the council's cabinet meeting.
The need is now, it's immediate. There's 389 in bed and breakfast, 169 in commercial hotels. If we do not do something quickly, the bill for commercial hotels alone will be over £5 million.
That was Labour councillor Shuttle Munro on the housing problem he says was a result of economic vandalism of Tory government. Councillor Bassam Mahfouz proposes this new scheme will help the numbers of homelessness threatening to overwhelm the authority's budget.
Families that I'm getting, I be in touch with myself and other local councillors on a daily basis, and I have them in tears because they are, the challenges they are facing are absolutely horrible, having to live in hotel accommodation or bed and breakfast, and all they really want is a bit of stability. It's one of the most basic needs, isn't it? Having a roof over your head, having a safe and secure place to live, and this is our ambitious plan in order to do that.
While the opposition leader in the council, Gary Malcolm, supports the initiative, he said there are reasons it was one of the few options they had left.
The backdrop, I think, in Ealing is that there is a real housing crisis, but also it hasn't done the best job at managing its own housing stock. I mean, I'll give you a couple of examples. One is its own repair systems is atrocious. People have huge damp problems with structural issues with properties, and they really, those tenants are often reporting problems being ignored. We have to do something radical, and I'm happy to support the council in this, but noting the caveats that I've said about other housing cases where they've failed quite miserably.
Coordinator for Ealing Soup Kitchen, Angela Doreen, says anything would help the situation.
If it means moving them out of cramped temporary accommodation B&B into something more sustainable and suitable, would be of help, helping those that are homeless, those that are cramped, those that are in situation. It's got to be better than nothing, because the situation's not getting better, it's getting worse. We're seeing more people coming through our door, more people that need a sleeping bag, more people that needs food and things. So anything that they can do is a good thing.
The government states their new local finance settlement will make available up to £4.5 billion for councils in England.
More than 100 patients who had eggs and embryos frozen at Guy's Hospital have been told they might be damaged due to a fault in the freezing process. For some people, this means they may never be able to conceive using their own eggs. Ellie Tutt spoke to the chief executive of the Fertility Foundation to find out what this means for those affected.
The Fertility Foundation has been on hand answering calls from those affected by the egg freezing error at Guy's Hospital. The charity aims to provide help to those pursuing IVF and has been funding at least one woman affected by the error. Chief Executive Tone Jarvis-Mack spoke with City News about the impact on patients.
There's going to be quite a few of those people that was it. That was their only chance. The ramifications that go with this, it's not just the emotional and the psychological effects this has. There's the financial cost as well, because they would have paid quite a lot of money just to get to this point. If they'd have done a round of IVF and created embryos, we're talking 5,000, maybe 7,000 plus medication. It just depends. So you've got cost implications, you've got the general woman's health, and then you've got their mental health aspect. Although it's just seen, oh, well, maybe they can go and do it again. It's like, well, many of them, they really can't. That was their only chance.
So what does this mean for the individual that the Fertility Foundation have been funding through IVF?
It was a single woman that was going through IVF on her own, and she had been to Guy's, and she did fertility preservation because she had breast cancer, and so she'd had to have chemo. So she had frozen her eggs because she's not in a position where she can go and create new eggs. There's nothing there for her, unfortunately. So if these don't thaw, they don't make it through that process. So that's her chance of being a mother that's ended for her.
Guy's Hospital have said they did not know about the potential issue at the time and are supporting those who may have been impacted.
Some Lewisham residents say they don't feel secure after squatters have moved into their local pub. And after a failed court eviction case, they could be here for even longer. Charlie Pritchard has the story.
The Baring Hall Hotel sits in the centre of Grove Park's main high street, covered in corrugated iron. Local residents are now trying to get it back to its former glory. An eviction notice was posted and a court date was arranged. But these squatters have managed to stay put after Bromley County Council made an error listing the case one day too early, meaning the squatters had not been given the required 3 days' notice. Now, the squatters are fighting back.
All I know of is there was some stickers put up on the door, so I thought it was like an announcement that when it was going to be opening, what they're doing to it, etc., stuff like that. But when I read it, it was the guy that's actually in there put up a full notice with his email on it and basically what he was going to do to prosecute if anyone goes on the premises.
One resident living directly behind the pub has been feeling the effects of these new neighbours.
Even our milk bottle in front door always stolen, and they climb the fence going to the inside. But later I think someone called the council, so they rid of them. Obviously when the homeless, they not disturb us, but you don't feel secure, right? The people living just next to us, you don't feel secure.
So how should you go about removing squatters? I spoke to Josh Kaiser, an associate at CMS law firm.
In terms of sort of context here, I think there's over 270,000 people are homeless in England alone as of the end of 23. There's 1.4 million vacant dwellings in England and Wales. So you put those numbers together, it's sort of a recipe for one thing, isn't it? The way to sort of officially remove a squatter and the advice from sort of the authorities is not to do it yourself and use any sort of violent means or force or anything. It's what you do is you apply for what's called an interim possession order, and that requires the squatters to leave after 24 hours.
And what rights do these squatters have?
So the point is squatters don't have rights to be on property indefinitely. The adverse possession is almost like a retrospective right where someone's been there for 10 years, like anyone sort of complaining or noticing, then it's almost like, oh, well done you effectively are the owner, you should have a right to apply for it. That's the logic of adverse possession, whether you agree with it or not.
That was Charlie Pritchard. Anti-Semitism figures have reached a record high in the UK, according to a London-based charity. The Community Security Trust, which protects British Jews, says more than 4,000 cases were reported in 2023. The charity says this explosion of hatred is an absolute disgrace. The majority of incidents happened after the October 7 attacks. Johnny Newton from the Community Security Trust explained the figures in London.
We've seen the largest amount of anti-Semitic incidents. It rose by 161% from last year's, and it is just over half of the total, so 2,410 anti-Jewish hate incidents reported in Great Britain. That is where the majority of the very small Jewish community resides. So there's only about 270 to 300,000 Jews that live in the UK. I think about 160,000 of those reside in and around London, and that's where you'll get visible Jewish communities. And it's also where you'd get Jewish communal centres, Jewish communal organisations will be based. High-profile Jewish people that attract a lot of anti-Semitism and a lot of attention will also be based in London. And then if we drill down on those stats a little bit more, the largest visible Jewish communities are based in Barnet. So in Barnet, we recorded 864 anti-Semitic incidents, and it's always the highest borough of anti-Semitic incidents. But also unusually, we recorded the second highest total in Westminster, where we recorded 323 anti-Semitic incidents. We think that much of that may be related to various demonstrations, protests and rallies that have occurred in and around Westminster since October the 7th.
And you can find out more on our website, www.citylondonnews.co.uk.
This is
City News.
Strike a pose. The doe eyes of the fashion world are on the capital as London Fashion Week kicks off tomorrow. Are you as excited as I am, Jamie?
Absolutely thrilled, Ed. I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, you really sound it. Well, to get everyone in the mood, we went round the City newsroom to cast an eye on our most fashionable colleagues. Welcome to the hopefully first annual City News Radio Catwalk.
Right, so my outfit is all thrifted. It's all off Depop. I've got a very floral girly top on, which looks like something from Enchanted, if you've ever seen it. Some denim jeans, some loafers, classics.
Ooh la la.
White t-shirt and jeans. Literally it.
Tell me more.
So we've got the campus Adidas shoes, we've got the chunky silver rings, vintage top from Brick Lane, and Urban Outfitters baggy trousers.
Jeans and a jumper.
Is that it?
Socks.
Socks.
I'm wearing the finest that Sports Direct, my tailor, can provide. So we went for, I actually got a new pair of Reeboks, I'm known for that, I have a wide collection of them. We went for the red stripes this season.
I embody Karl Lagerfeld at the moment. I'm dressed head to toe in black and it's shining. Like patent leather, but something you see that might sparkle in the moonlight.
That felt like a groundbreaking fashion moment. But London, I want to hear what you're wearing.
Yes, please send us yours to @CityLondonNews with the hashtag City Radio Catwalk.
Vogue. Strike a pose. And now two people who actually know what they're talking about when it comes to fashion. Fee McBean joins us live.
Louis Butcher is a student at the London College of Fashion. He spoke to us on the importance of London Fashion Week.
London Fashion Week, I think, diversifies the streets of London. And I think Fashion Week coming to London gives people that excuse to really dress extravagantly and dress how they feel comfortable. And I think Fashion Week is incredible and does so much for London in terms of letting people explore their fashion sense more and explore fashion in more outgoing ways. I have always been creative, and being able to put my work down that runway potentially one day would just be one of the biggest opportunities that I could get. Definitely somewhere I do see myself one day. Londoners should be so excited for Fashion Week because I think the vibe in London gets different when Fashion Week is coming along. You can see the fashion community being rife within London, the people travelling from other countries to come in. Even if you aren't a designer, you can get inspiration for outfits that you could potentially wear. You can get inspiration for so many different things. Anyone can walk down the street and just be so inspired by the amount of events going on in London. It's incredible for networking if the fashion industry is something you would want to go into. And it just is an amazing time in London, and you need to get out there and try and experience it yourself.
London Fashion Week kicks off tomorrow and is on until Tuesday, the 20th of February. Still to come on City News. Find out how one East London resident's giving London's kids a taste of a more rural lifestyle.
You know, I think it's really, really important to get kids out, especially after this COVID thing, when for 3 years there was young kids of 2 and 3 years old being told not to go outside.
A music critic and wheelchair user has said London venues are not doing enough for their disabled customers.
Next year, in 2025, it's 30 years since the Disability Discrimination Act came into act, and it's 15 years since the Equality Act came in, and yet we still see venues being allowed to operate that have no access at all. And what's shocking about this one is this is a new venue.
And what do you know about mudlarking? City News takes to the banks of the Thames to tell us all about it.
But then every once in a while, you'll see something that stands out to you. Maybe it's a bit rounder than the rest, or maybe it's got a different pattern. And always turn over anything that doesn't look that interesting, because you never know what's on the other side.
This is
City News.
It's 3:21, this is City News. The map of the London Overground is getting a brand new look. It used to be all orange, but now there'll be 6 new colours and 6 new names. Imogen Rogers is at Highbury and Islington Station to explain the changes.
Hi Ed. So London Mayor Sadiq Khan was here earlier
announcing that the overground tube lines, which have been in the past called a mass of orange spaghettis, are now becoming 6 parallel lines, making it more efficient and easier to use. They're going to be named Lioness, Mildmay, Windrush, Weaver, Suffragette and Liberty, and aim to be ready for use in December. 6.3 million is going to be spent on this project, but there have been concerns that this is a waste of money. The transport spokesman for the Conservatives claimed that the changes are a wasted opportunity, saying that money should be invested in other infrastructure. But the mayor has backed the move, considering the overall TfL budget of 9.5 billion for 2024 to 25. 3 million passengers use the overground each week, and here at Highbury and Islington, people seem to be pretty positive about the names in the new service.
I think the new names are really good to represent the many different cultures and countries that exist within London.
I love the overground. I guess if the budget's coming out of TfL, that's great.
It's just a personalising thing. It doesn't matter. You can call it both, really, can't you?
So the names aim to represent the culture and diversity of London. So the new line, Lioness, representing the England women's football team who recently finished runners-up in the FIFA Women's World Cup. But what about England women's rugby team, Red Roses? The first team captain of Belsize Ones, a local women's rugby team in Belsize Park, outlines the Red Roses' past victories. Should they have had a tube line named after them?
Women's team have done really well. They won the Six Nations. They did really well in the World Cup. So the Red Roses are amazing. The Lionesses are amazing. I think women's sport is on the up, and England are fantastic across the board. I think it's fantastic that something has been named after the Lionesses. They have done such a good job, and it's amazing that they're being recognised. Everything that the Lionesses have done for women in sport and representation is obviously going to have a good impact on rugby as well. I obviously would love to see a Red Roses tube line, but yeah, I think that it's fantastic that any women's sport is getting the representation it deserves.
Imogen Rogers there from Highbury.
A wasteland in Woodford has become a flourishing conservation area, bringing a range of activities to local children. Redbridge Lakes is a creation of Gordon Bullock, a local resident who wanted to bring the countryside lifestyle to London. Fatih El-Shazli has more.
Fishing, camping and bird watching are only some of the activities that can be done here at Redbridge Lakes. This 10 acres area is managed by Gordon Bullock, who also hosts different community groups that use the facility for paddling, swimming, angling and much more. The owner and his wife are always present and happy to describe the exotic animals that you may encounter there.
What does an Egyptian goose look like?
Oh, imagine Cleopatra with loads of makeup. I think that's how they got their name. Yeah, they've got sort of black eyeliner.
Sounds like a good
around
sign.
their eyes. Yeah. Now I've told you, you'll see one. You go, oh, that's an Egyptian goose. Yeah.
The area is accessible through a membership and is open to everyone, but Gordon believes it's particularly beneficial for kids.
You know, I think it's really important to get kids out, especially after this COVID thing, when for 3 years there was young kids of 2 and 3 years old being told not to go outside, and that they sort of created like this phobia now of going outside into the natural world. And I think it's really important that we teach kids that as it happens, the natural world is nice and safe, and it's a lovely place to be.
Barry, one of the members, believes that Redbridge Lakes has also bigger benefits.
I did some fishing there. I enjoyed doing angling and stuff, but the real thing for me, it's multi-dimensional, this place, because a side of it that exists for me is the effect on people's well-being and mental health. I mean, when I found the lakes, I was nursing my own mother through Alzheimer's, and sadly she's dead now, but this became one of her favourite places. And the reason is that, you know, very beautiful places, calm, peaceful, tranquil places, they're very conducive to good mental health and well-being.
There is a lot going on here, and it may be worth a visit to disconnect from the busy London and spend some time in nature.
That was Fatih El-Shazli. Now let's take a look at the other stories making the news today. Here's Connor Jones.
DNA advances have led to a 51-year-old man being found guilty of murdering a woman in central London back in 1994. Police say new forensic techniques on a single hair found on a ring worn by Marina Kopel, who was 39, have helped to convict Sandeep Patel of Finchley Road. She was stabbed at least 140 times at her Westminster flat. Her killer will be sentenced on Friday. The UK slipped into a recession at the end of last year. The Office for National Statistics say GDP fell by 0.3% at the end of last year, following a decline in the previous quarter. The Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, insists the financial situation is turning a corner.
The underlying picture here is an economy that's been more resilient, and if we stick to our guns, independent forecasters say that interest rates will start to fall in the early summer.
Labour's Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves said that it is time for change after 14 years of economic decline under the Conservatives. The Foreign Secretary has met his Polish counterpart. Lord Cameron insists he's not telling the US what to do, but he's again urged politicians to pass a bill which includes support for Ukraine.
Two foreign ministers standing here today, it's like two foreign ministers standing here in the 1930s, where we faced a similar challenge from a similar aggressive dictator who was trying to change Europe's boundaries by force.
Washington's foreign aid package, including £47.5 billion for Ukraine's fight against Russia, has passed the Senate but still needs to go through the House of Representatives. Christopher Nolan has been made a Fellow of the British Film Institute. He received the honour from Oppenheimer star Cillian Murphy. The BFI say he's one of the world's most influential film directors with extraordinary achievements to his name. The director says the recognition means the world to him. And the latest sports news, England's cricketers finished day one of the third test in India on the back foot despite a fast start in Rajkot. Ben Stokes' side took 3 quick wickets to leave the hosts 33 for 3 after just 9 overs. But India responded with Rohit Sharma and Ravindra Jadeja both scoring centuries. They'll resume on 3-2-6 for 5 tomorrow. That's the latest.
This is
City News.
A North London music critic says a venue offered to carry him in due to a lack of wheelchair access. Mick Stewart is calling on authorities to enforce rules on accessibility. Lissy Gray has the story.
For most people, navigating around the streets and venues of London is pretty simple if you know your way around. But for people like Mick, it's not that simple. He's a Camden-based music critic and wheelchair user who recently wasn't able to do his job because the venue wasn't wheelchair accessible. He told us about his experience in the city.
I write for a music magazine called Blitzed, and I'd done a feature interview with a musician called Donovan Silver. He was doing his first live performance at a club right near where I live in Camden. I contacted the venue and said, hi, I'm coming, I'm a wheelchair user. It's something you tend to do. And I didn't really get any kind of reply. Email back saying, we don't actually have wheelchair access, but we can carry him up the stairs. When I was young, carried, crawled, do all stuff to get into things. But this is in the 80s. We didn't have an Equality Act and we didn't have building regulations. And I didn't honestly think as I approached 60 that I would still be expected to do the stuff that I was doing, when, I just hit 20 and I couldn't go.
Mick shared how this affected him and what developments Camden Council could implement to resolve this issue.
Most non-disabled people don't know that clubs are still so inaccessible. Gig venues, pubs, restaurants. Got to be a situation where at some point those people with power, like your local council, like national government, this is it. Today is the first day of a set amount of time where if you aren't accessible, you're going to have detriment to your business.
Camden Council set expectations in the 2019 planning guide, saying that any future development should be designed to promote equality of opportunity.
That was Lissy Gray.
London Unheard, highlighting the diverse stories, cultures and communities that make London so unique.
And this week we're giving a voice to the people literally unearthing the capital's history. Catherine Woolley has been down to the Thames to meet the mudlarkers.
Again, look at this side, not much to look at. Turn it round, boom, Tudor, very cool. You found a really nice pipe bowl here. That's amazing. That's almost as good as yours.
This group of wannabe mudlarkers have huddled under Millennium Bridge to learn from one of just a few licensed professionals. It's a masterclass in scouring the riverbank for pieces of London's history, going as far back as the Roman times.
So when you're sort of walking around, you're scanning, what are you looking for?
I like to look for things that don't look like other things. That's the best way to look for stuff, because you get very accustomed to looking for the shapes of stones and flint and naturally occurring materials, but then every once in a while you'll see something that stands out to you. Maybe it's a bit rounder than the rest, or maybe it's got a different pattern. And always turn over anything that doesn't look that interesting, because you never know what's on the other side.
Is this your first time mudlarking?
First time mudlarking. We search for shells and things on the beaches. Yeah, first time mudlarking.
And what do you make of it?
We're loving it. Yeah, really good fun.
Once you train your eye to what you're looking for, it'll all just start popping out on you.
Yeah. Do you think you'd want to do this again?
Yeah.
Do you think you're into it now? You want to move to London?
Yeah.
You come to London, be a mudlarker?
Yeah. Yes.
Wonderful.
Very Victorian.
If you're at all interested in yourself as a human and what your ancestors used to do, it will really get you front and center with the social history of people that came before us.
To protect the pastime, we are asked not to take anything home with us, and the fines of the day are returned to the Thames.
If mudlarking sounds like your sort of thing, you may need to wait a little, as the licensing scheme is currently closed.
Now, figures published today have revealed the UK has officially entered a recession after GDP decreased significantly. Amelia Melvin is at the Bank of England.
Well, it's been busy outside the Bank of England today. GDP, or gross domestic product, a value used to measure a country's overall economic growth, shrank by 0.3% in the last financial quarter. It did grow by 0.1% in the previous 3-month period, but Labour's Rachel Reeves has said that the Conservative economy led by Rishi Sunak is in tatters. The Prime Minister's opening pledges when he first started in the role assured the public that the economy would grow, but opposition politicians are taking this as a sign of his poor handling of the economy. For Labour, it presents a prime opportunity to criticise and claim back the need for their economic input ahead of the general election in spring of this year. Jeremy Hunt, Chancellor of the Exchequer, said these latest GDP figures are challenging, but appropriate for their long-term plan for growth. Earlier today, I spoke with the Deputy Press Officer of the Bank of England, Henry Tanner, who said it's important to focus on the bigger picture and not get caught up in individual data points. In terms of interest rates, Mr. Hunt, and falling inflation, he reassured that they are in fact making much faster progress and that this was a higher priority than GDP.
That was Amelia Melvin with the latest update.
That's all we have time for now, but do stick around for some sport, because up next, we're live to Dubai with Gabby Logan and Adam Hurrey for the opening ceremony of the Beach Football World Cup. And we have live commentary of that event from 7 o'clock. It's the opening fixture between hosts, the United Arab Emirates, and favourites, Brazil. And I'll be back at 11 p.m. with Andy Gray for the Beach Breakdown, where we'll go through all the action shot by shot. Thanks so much for tuning into City News. I've been Ed Easton.
And I've been Jamie Dorrington.
And for more on all the top stories, visit our website at www.citylondonnews.co.uk or check out our socials at City London News on TikTok and Instagram. Good afternoon.